we could take that same machine and retool it to do positive things for the world and for society, and it would do just as well.
And that's the next level for humanity. You know what I mean? Because
right.
we have the ability to do that, but we're not awake. You know what I mean? As a whole culture,
we are rolling.
Welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. Daniel can't be with us today, unfortunately. He had a business engagement come up, but we had a great episode. Eric filled in for Daniel, and we had artist and entrepreneur Chris Micca on the set with us. Really interesting dude. Really good musician. He runs a dog grooming business. We talk about some really cool ideas with how to start a business or what it's like being a business owner and being an artist, how to make it as an artist, how to pursue your passions. Eric talks a lot about his experience as a stand-up comic and how to make it in the comedy world, and we also talk about society and the social constructs that we live in. And it was a fun episode. It was. I think you guys will get a lot out of it. If you're looking to pursue your passions or start a business, I think it'll be a helpful episode for you. And also, if you enjoy the episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate the support, and we hope you guys enjoy the episode. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, people don't realize that that's what that is. It's. I feel like people who like comedy, like music, and like you, don't know how to support you. You know what I mean?
Right.
They think, oh, I'll just go to your show. That's great. I'm not making that money. I lost money coming to this show. What you can really do is actually support me when I do other things. And when you post online, you're like, hey, I got this thing. There needs to be a more direct way to handle that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just put this little EP out, and it's just... You just got to put it out and do it because you want to do it. I didn't really expect anything of it, and I'd have no desire to go out and gig it.
Right.
Unless people really want to see it. But
that's kind of where I am recently. It's like I just want to go to places where the people showing up they woke up wanting to see me too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not.
Exactly.
I'm not. A lot of times I'll go to a bar and show up to do comedy, and nobody knows I was going to fucking be there. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They paid for a babysitter for me to ruin their night now, and now they're going to ruin my night back. You know what I mean? It's a whole fucking thing, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, actually, the best money I make as a musician is doing gigs I don't want to do.
That's it.
Doing shitty gigs where you play a bunch of covers and...
Right.
And, so I'll make $300.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
I'll never make that money. You know how many listens you'd have to get on Spotify to make $300? Like
a
million.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You'd have to be Kanye. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is wild the way it's worked out. And, what I love now is more people are taking their own route and kind of making their way around the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And, you can see the gatekeepers getting a little... shifty, and I fucking love it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It needs to change,
Oh, yeah. But the little EP I just put out, Jesse made a video for it, and I put it on Facebook, and it got like 100 shares, and now some guy in San Francisco is playing me on his radio show every week. It's good. I mean, that's all I want.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just want people to hear it.
Some connectivity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, make the kind of music I like listening to, and you find that crowd. And
that's what I'm specifically focused on, is like not making anything for anybody else to see. I'm not making anything with the intent of anyone else seeing it. I'm just making it. And then if I show it to people, that's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've started doing, I used to do a lot of charity shows, and I really like those. Because, dickheads aren't showing up to give money away. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I started doing shows in art galleries, and I was like, all right, no assholes don't wake up and go to art galleries.
No.
There's no assholes in an art gallery. You've never met one. They might be a snob. They might like or not like a thing, but they're not going to fucking, hey, fuck you. They're not drunk. They're not throwing stuff at you. They're not going to assault you in the parking lot. You know what I mean?
They're there because they want something.
Yeah.
They want to absorb some culture or whatever. Yeah.
And so it's like finding people who want to absorb culture.
Yeah.
Is really it, right?
I mean, that's a good thing about social media. It's really the only good thing, but still, I mean, put some content out there, especially with music, and it's like somebody just told me 40,000 songs a day, new songs a day on Spotify.
Okay.
How's anybody going to find you? You know what I mean? The best you can hope for is like to be known in some kind of small bubble or whatever.
Yeah. One of my favorite comedians of all time used to say a thing. Everybody's trying to get 1 million people to like them. Really what you need is 10,000 people to like you. You know what I mean? And that's a great life for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So
it's just, it's a
but you got to be able to find them, right? I mean, and hopefully now
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool today with the internet and YouTube and all that and social media is, as an artist, you can produce your own content without the gatekeepers, and we're finding that it's really unlimited how many artists there can be.
Yeah,
as long as you're producing good content, you'll have a fan base. Yeah, because there's so many people. There's so many.
It's just a matter of getting your stuff in
heard
those
by
faces
by the right people,
and that's that's where you see the people who are taking advantage of the algorithm and all of that. And it's like I don't even know what that is.
I don't.
The only thing I think we need to really work on is, and it's a problem I think we're seeing more in the music industry, but I'm sure we'll start seeing it more in comedy and stuff, and all art forms is copyright laws and issues with copyrights, because I think there's got to be a way for us to share more, especially music, because musicians are, you create these songs, and sometimes your songs may overlap with other songs inadvertently.
Right.
And it seems like we could create a copyright system where that's okay. Just to, if that happens, then a portion of the proceeds to that music go towards that other artist.
Exactly.
And we're all working together.
Kind of like automatically.
Yeah, automatically.
Yeah.
So nobody gets sued. There's not some bullshit lawsuit or something.
What's funny is gatekeepers, the internet gatekeepers would tell you that that's not possible. And then I would make the argument that it absolutely is possible.
100%.
Because we posted a video, some raw footage of a friend of mine playing the guitar, and it got flagged for copyright because he was playing an actual song in it. And it's like, we weren't posting it or anything. It was just footage for me to go through. But so if they can recognize that,
the tiniest thing, right?
We didn't say, hey, here's some music.
But it's not against the law to cover a song either.
Right.
Right. Well, that's what like ASCAP is for and stuff like that, right?
But,
because I guess you can cover it, but you can't use an original recording or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I think
right?
hip hop artists have figured it out the best.
Yeah,
sampling and stuff.
Yeah, because
they share a lot of music.
They've been doing it for years.
And it keeps everybody relevant too. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Though I have to say that there've been a lot of lawsuits recently with hip hop artists where they've had to pay for stuff they did in the past and all that because it was popular.
It is coming around, but now that those guys are starting to keep their own masters and things like that, and they're making deals with the actual artists who they are. They are again getting around the gatekeepers, not going to the people who are just interested in the money.
I'm talking more specifically about. I know what Jesse's talking about, where they're sampling rock songs and stuff from the past, but
and it's a certain amount of time and it's free. You can do it.
Right, yeah. But I'm talking more about how they work with each other as artists, and they say, "Hey, I want to remix your song, or I want to sample in some stuff from your song." And they're like, "Yeah, that's good," and they just work together. And they're you see a hip hop album, it's got many artists on that album,
Right, and it's just like when they first started doing it, it was this far apart, but people are seeing the benefit of it. It's getting closer together.
Well, none of our ideas are our ideas. They're all
it's all recycled
conglomerations of millions of ideas. We're all a hive mind. We're all a collective consciousness. So it's just some of us are better at expressing ideas than others. But it's not like these ideas belong to us. They're all shared.
Yeah, it's like your antennas. We're all antennas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that should be a factor.
Yeah,
definitely.
We just need to change the currency system, and then it'll make more sense.
Yeah, that always blows my mind. The currency system we have in place is so in place that I can't picture anything differently.
Right.
And I know you have, so Neil's a business guy, and he's like super into that stuff. Every time you talk about it, I'm like, yeah, man, that sounds great. But also, nickels and dimes and pennies and dollars.
Talk about the real gatekeepers.
Right.
I'm telling you, man.
Daunting.
I'm mostly like a cash person.
Yeah.
And
me too.
And people,
and not much of it either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, not much of it. And it's like when I do my my day job, my business, it's like I always tell people, you know, I prefer cash and everything, but you know, now it's just Venmo.
Yeah.
Venmo, PayPal.
It's all digital. I mean, 95% of our currency is digital, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just the way it's constructed is not really the best.
I think this year I'm gonna just do. This year I've mostly gone to taking payments like that. I think it'll just be easier when it comes to tax time because it's just like you have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, but.
And they are working feverishly figuring out how to make sure that they know how much money you're taking on Venmo.
They know more than you do.
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
But you know, now they're getting very specifically going after gig workers. You know, like if you were just working gigs and getting your $100, $75, $50 every now and again, a couple years ago it was like whatever, and now they're just like, yep. Now we tax you on all of that. And,
if you're not really self-motivated and organized, the best thing you can do as an artist, I think, would be to, if you have at least, you know, you're going to make a certain amount of money at bare minimum each month.
Yeah.
You should set up an LLC and then just put yourself on a salary. It could be a once-a-month salary.
Yeah.
And that way you're handling taxes as the year goes. Or it can be a weekly salary. You can even pay yourself weekly. And it could be a flexible
I need somebody
salary.
to pay me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't care who does it. If it's me or somebody else.
Yeah.
But that way you don't have any tax liability at the end of the year.
Yeah, I've heard people tell me that before. But, I mean, my business has been so up and down. And it's so small. I mean, I tried to...
you own a business? Or?
Yeah, it's like I'm a mobile dog groomer.
Oh, okay.
So, and I've been doing it for like 15 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, very cool.
And it's really good, but it's really... People are like, oh, you're a successful small businessman, but to me, I'm just an owner-operator. You know, it's a hustle. Some people have said, hey, why don't you get another vehicle and hire somebody and you can grow it for 5 or 10 years and then sell it. And I tried that, and I had somebody working for me for a couple of years, but it just...
That's where my mind goes. The business side of me, yeah.
But it's like physical work, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so...
And it's a specialty. It's a trade.
Yeah.
But you could do that.
I tried it. It's really hard to find other people to stick with it.
Yeah. Well, it's also hard to find people that won't compete against you.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll steal your clientele.
And I've never really been that worried about that because I don't want all the dogs. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's like
There's plenty of dogs.
There's only so much I can do.
Are you still taking on new clients?
I do if they're the right clients. You know what I mean? Like my clients.
Talk to you
being
afterwards.
Able to be selective is nice.
Yeah, because that's because I haven't advertised for years. I only take people from referrals.
Okay.
And I only take smaller dogs now, and I want people who are committed to doing it regularly.
Right. Well, I have 2 small dogs, and I've been looking for a mobile groomer. So.
Do you live in Greensboro?
I live in High Point, close to Greensboro.
Well,
like the Palladium area.
Where's that?
Like Deep River, off of Wendover.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can. I can give you my number, and
yeah.
But it's like the people I take now. I schedule them. They're on a schedule.
Right,
I have some
gotcha,
people who I go to their house every week,
nice.
Every 2 weeks. I mean, no more than 10 weeks in between grooms, and
that's good.
And they don't want to have to call me. They like it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome, yeah.
I'm coming on Wednesday, and that's the way to do it. Whereas like way back when I started, I had like over 200 customers, and sometimes and that was too much because I was burnt. I was working 6 days a week.
And you want to do it all yourself.
I wanted to do it all. I mean, the money was good, but it was, after a while you're just so fried, and then your work starts suffering.
Yeah.
And now I've got like maybe 30 customers, but I'm just as busy.
They're very reliable.
Yeah.
Continue.
Maybe 30 to 50.
And that goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? It's like you want 1 million people to like you, but really what you need is that 10,000, right? And for this,
exactly,
you don't need 200. You need the ones who are loyal and
you need just the right people, the right dogs. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to stay in certain areas.
While we're on this topic, though, I don't want to get too far out of this because it's interesting, and we are the creative businessmen. So
yeah. So
it's cool. I mean, you're like a perfect guest for the show because we're, it's about creativity and I'm a businessman and an artist, and my normal co-host, business partner Daniel, who can't be here today, he's all business.
Yeah.
But he appreciates creativity and art, and but what we would say or be discussing in this situation with your business is that, some people have businesses that are more like jobs. So you're trading time for money.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is more like a trade type business.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Or you can take that business and you can duplicate it.
Yeah.
And make it grow and have, you could have multiple trucks out there doing grooming, but it's a lot more work. And you step into more of a management role.
Exactly.
You'd have to bring in someone and train them with you for a certain period of time and then put them in their own vehicle. It's a big upfront expense. Mm-hmm. And then you also have to manage all their clients because they're your clients.
Exactly.
And then if you get to 10, if you have 10 trucks, you have 10 times your responsibility.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine that.
I would like that, but it's not for everybody. And that also goes into the currency thing, where, I talk about this a lot on the show is I feel like our currency system is heavily flawed. Right now we have, it's not a finite amount of currency. It does increase. It increases as businesses increase, as more money's loaned out, because money's not real. It's a social construct.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like we just don't use our imagination well enough. But we could have a society where we base the value of our money, instead of only being based on businesses and GDP and the banks and the stock market, we could also base the value of our currency on the members of our society, because that's what society is. It's people.
Exactly.
And if you based a portion of the value of our currency on the cost of a human being's basic needs in our society, it would be much more valuable. But even beyond that, you could base it on the value of our portion of the planet. Our planet, an economist recently evaluated our planet as, he said based on all the business on the earth, all the technology, all the people, everything that we've added to the planet and what the planet offers to us, the planet is worth approximately $5 quadrillion, which is a 5 with 15 zeros after it.
Yeah.
And if you divided that amongst all the people on the planet, all 8 billion people, that's about $675,000 a person, and that's before it's leveraged. So once you leverage it, it's 10 times that, plus all the other stuff we can base value on. And so we could base our currency not only on all the things we currently base it on, but also on the people in our society and our portion of the planet. And right now, our currency is sort of a depreciating asset. It depreciates with inflation, but if you base it on things like the planet itself and ourselves, it would actually be appreciating. It would become more valuable with time. And we would create a society that's based on innovation and incentive and motivation. You wouldn't have to have, and this isn't a socialist or communist idea either. This is a very capitalist idea.
Yeah, totally.
There would just be an abundance of money for our. So then a guy like you who has a small business, you could just have 30 clients and work 30 hours a week or whatever on those clients, and then you could spend 80 hours a week playing music, which is what you really love to do.
Right.
And the way the subsidy would work, as long as you're a productive member of society, you're part of the tax code, then you're going to receive a certain incentive for being a member of society.
Right.
And you'll have, and we can take care of everyone's medical needs and educational needs, and then a guy like you, I'm sure you do pretty well with your grooming service, but you don't want to do. That's not what you want to do. Your passion is music. But we still need dog groomers. It's a productive thing in society. So your grooming business may only pay you, $50 an hour or something, $30 an hour. But really, as a productive member of society, as a part of the tax system, you're really making maybe $100, $150 an hour.
Right.
And then so now your business is really successful, even though maybe you're working 20, 30 hours a week. And you have the time and the resources to you have a nice place to live, you have good transportation, you have all your basic needs are met, you have plenty of food, and then the majority of your time can be spent focusing on music and creating art and what you really want to do. And you may reach a level where that's all you do because it becomes a productive part of society, because then you're making money through art. And you're making more money through art than you are through your grooming service, so you become just a full-time artist, and you're contributing more to society. So I want to see a society where we can eliminate poverty, because we would raise the floor to a level where the floor is not a bad place to be.
Right.
And the easiest jobs to fill are the entry-level jobs. The cashiers and the janitors and stuff like that. And we need those. They're just as important as the doctors and the lawyers and the bankers and all those people. But they're easy to fill those positions, and people can start at those positions, and they only have to be there for 20 hours a week. People we lined up to take those jobs.
Oh, totally.
And those people are still, they're part of the tax system, so they're still making $100, $150 an hour. They're doing well.
Yeah.
They have all their basic needs. And then that person that's the cashier, they spend 20 hours a week doing something shitty they hate, but they don't mind it because they're getting well compensated for it.
Right, and they have more freedom.
Right, and the business is only paying them $12 an hour because the business is a machine. It can only justify a certain wage for a certain job.
Right.
And that's fine, but as a collective society, we subsidize that person, and no matter what you make, where you fall into the tax system, as long as you're a part of the system, you're getting these subsidies.
Right, you're never going to fall into poverty.
Right, so that cashier spends 20 hours a week as a cashier. Maybe they spend the rest of their time going to school, learning new trades, or focusing on an art that they love, something else that is valuable that makes them feel more fulfilled and allows them to pursue something that they're passionate about. And you have a great society. You have an incredible society. And we could do that today if people would stop wanting to have power over other people.
That's what it is.
That's
a fascinating concept. It's like utopia. I mean, it would be the greatest thing. It's the only thing is political will. People wanting to keep.
It's crazy.
It's wanting to keep control, keep everybody as a slave.
Yeah.
And that's.
We talk about corporations and bureaucracies. They're just machines designed to do something, and no matter what it is, whether it's good or bad, if it's doing a good job at what it does, it'll be rewarded for it.
Yeah.
So you look at like the prison system, which is basically a slavery system.
Mm-hmm.
It gets rewarded for enslaving people. So that's what it wants to do. It wants to prosecute people. And the more people it can prosecute, the better it gets rewarded.
Right.
It's insane. It's like war. These
right.
War is a bureaucracy designed to create death and destruction, and the more death and destruction it creates, the more money it soaks up. It just gobbles up tax dollars and shits out death and destruction, and it does a good job. And it keeps growing.
Right.
And so we could take that same machine and retool it to do positive things for the world and for society, and it would do just as well.
And that's the next level for humanity. You know what I mean? Because we have the ability to do that, but we're not awake. You know what I mean? As a whole culture,
I do feel like we're becoming more awake, though. It's like we're going through I think that's the connectedness of technology. We're becoming more connected to each other, realizing that we're not different. We're all the same thing. Stop saying us and them. It's all us.
That's the good part about it, and it's the bad part about it too, because like the division now because of social media, it's crazy. I mean, it's out of control.
Well, I think it's happened so rapidly because technology is exponential that we don't know how to process it.
That's exactly it. It's outpaced our evolution.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we get fed intentionally the division and the negativity as well.
Oh, for sure.
The communication and openness and the connectivity gets muddied a little bit intentionally, I feel like. You see less of the good and less of the growth and more of the struggle and the infighting.
Well, that's what the people up on the top want.
That's the power structures trying to hold on. And that's why I also said there's a big difference between success and power. People that have power want to control other people. Yeah. People that have success just want to be successful.
They just want to be happy.
Right.
It's not really about money. It's about having a happy life.
Right. And listen, I think you should be as successful as you want to be, but you should never have control over other people.
Right.
It's like the COVID stuff. A lot of the political aspects of this whole pandemic are based on businesses and bottom lines. Pfizer sponsors everything on the mainstream media.
I watched regular TV yesterday. I turned on regular ear TV. I went to channel 46 to watch the Jeffersons, and every fucking commercial was either Joe Namath hawking insurance to old people, or it was a Pfizer commercial. Right. Every single fucking one.
Yeah.
It's wild to me.
It's.
But the good thing about technology is we can all see it, and people are seeing it. It's
Some
hard
people are
to. Technology decentralizes everything, so the narrative is harder to manipulate and control. It still is being manipulated and controlled, but much less than it used to be. I mean, you think like
we're all slowly waking up to it.
And, I mean, 30 years ago, we didn't see these issues because we only had 4 sources of news.
Exactly.
And they were all controlled.
And we didn't have a computer in our hands that can, justify anything we want to believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or to find information that's find factual information.
It's a little much having the world at your fingertips constantly. You know what I mean? I feel like we shouldn't be able to access all. I feel like, and this is where he wants a chip in his brain, and I'm like, I'll take give me a little space. But I feel like, access of information, being able to look things up, I feel like that's incredible. But when we wake up and the first thing we grab is the phone,
that's it.
That's an issue.
It's amazing to have that at your fingertips, but man, that screen it'll fucking ruin your life if you don't.
I had to delete Instagram 2 days ago because I set an alarm forever ago. It'll tell you you've been on Instagram this long.
Yeah.
And I started seeing that. So it's an hour 45 minutes. I'm like, if I spend an hour 45 minutes on this fucking platform, kill me, right?
Right.
And where's the app for that? And so I'm scrolling through, and the thing is, I hit it at 2 a.m. every day because I'm up late, and at 2 a.m. the fucking alarm goes off. I was like, I gotta get rid of this thing. It's every night.
What is funny about this is I was the other night I sit down on the bed, and my wife's on her side of the bed, and she's on her phone. I was like, hey, babe, what are you doing? She's like, just scrolling.
Yeah.
I was like, scrolling is a thing.
Yeah,
scrolling is
people
a thing.
are just scrolling now.
It's how you spend your day. I started, I did the math on it, and it turned out, this is why I deleted it. I did the math on the hours I spend on Instagram times days of the week and a month and a year. In a year, I spend between 12 and 15 days on Instagram.
But here's the thing, too.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot of my life.
But here's the thing, too, is would you wake up without your brain?
No, see.
You know what I mean? Like it's just an extension of our minds.
It is not.
If you look at the internet, it's all of our minds linked together.
Yeah, it's a collective consciousness.
We're dumping information into this pile of information that we can all access. So it's
but on an individual
we just have
level.
to figure out how. I mean, it's like you can sit around and just think all day and not get shit done. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing. It's learning how to manage your mind and how to manage your time.
That's it, and it's the addictive aspect of it that really undermines that. Yeah. And I mean, I got to the point where I was like, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? Like I'm looking at this phone and I'm not even interested in anything.
No,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like before I had this, I'd get up in the morning, I'd pick up my guitar,
dude,
or whatever, start playing, and I'm going.
That was your dopamine rush, and now it's this.
And actually now I've made a point. Like when I get up in the morning, I can look at Flipboard or Instagram when I'm drinking my coffee, but after that, my phone is for contacting customers.
That's good.
And
That's good.
Shit like that. You know what I mean? Because I make because in the mornings, like my business is so all-consuming during the week when I'm working.
Yeah.
So when I can only do creative, I can only do exercise before I work.
Right.
Because when I get home from work, then it's like get ready for the next day. Get the truck ready for the next day, take the dogs for a walk, whatever. So in the morning, like after my coffee's done, I got to put the phone down.
Yeah.
And then I'll just try to 20 minutes of guitar, 20 minutes of bass, take the dog for a walk, do a little exercise, get out and just
what
do the hustle.
What all instruments do you play? So guitar, bass?
Yeah, guitar and bass mostly. Yeah.
And you've been, you said you were in San Francisco forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
You came up in the music scene there. When did you get into music, and what was the experience like in San Francisco?
Well, I started playing in high school. I was in high school 76 to 80, and I was in New Jersey. And, I joined my first band probably junior year in high school. I have never not been in a band in my whole life. I've always been in, like, multiple.
What did your parents do?
My dad was an insurance agent, and my mom, she was a housewife.
How do you find music?
My dad just bought me guitar. I loved the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and I got a guitar teacher who didn't teach me music theory. He just
what age did your dad buy a guitar for you?
14.
Okay.
I learned the chords, and he taught me how to strum and finger pick, and I learned Beatles songs and Simon and Garfunkel and Buffalo Springfield and stuff, and
nice. That
was 6 months of lessons, and then when I got to high school, I had a great. I joined the jazz band, like I was I'm not a jazz musician.
Yeah,
but,
right, right.
It's a good place to be, though.
But
right?
yeah, I mean, I had
Yeah.
2 great music teachers who taught me music theory, and I got
Very
in
cool.
bands. So I've always done it, And then when I got to San Francisco, I was in a few, and I was in I could see Manhattan, my Manhattan skyline out my front door. So 1976 to 1981, 82, it was like, I grew up with the Beatles and all that stuff, and then punk happened, and it was all coming together, and
Right over there too, and
right there, I would go and go in the city. I was in a couple original bands then, and then.
Nice.
It's a good age to be in New York at that time.
Oh yeah,
It's a fantastic lineup of events.
It was super exciting, and then at some point, I think I was working in a factory. I had saved up enough money. I bought a car. I think I had $600, and I drove to California.
What year was this?
Like maybe 83.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
And I just
Perspective, $600 in '83 was a lot more than today.
yeah. I mean, it was enough to get me there.
I mean, there are
and I had friends there.
I know comedians who are working to get $600 to drive to California today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
so you decide to go to California because you see, was it San Francisco specifically?
Well, I ended up in Sacramento because I had a friend there.
Yep.
And
That's
then,
how everybody ends up in Sacramento.
Yeah. So I crashed there, and then, eventually met some guys in the Oakland, in the Bay Area, and roommates with them. We had a band, and it just started from there. And
What were the band names back then? Your bands?
Well, the first the first big band I was in, big band, I'm not big, but it was the McGuires.
Okay.
And they were all from New Jersey too, actually. And
That was in Oakland?
in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that whole scene was like, it was.
Was it to do with Mark McGuire, or was it a different thing?
No.
Okay.
I don't know where they got that name.
All right, just curious. Yeah.
It wasn't even. It was spelled like Maguires, and it was actually
Oh, okay.
It was actually a pretty successful band.
Nice.
But I can't find anything on it. It was like
Yeah, yeah.
pre-internet. Like I can't find anything
It's crazy
about
that
them.
we don't have
Weird,
that
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's
right?
like all gone.
Did they actually have any records?
Yeah, they had a
record.
record.
Okay.
We did a record. It was like vinyl record.
Nice.
And
That's cool.
We won a BAMI, which was like a Bay Area Music Award.
Wow.
That was really cool. And then for some reason, I mean, I don't know how it happened, but we ended up getting written up in People magazine.
Hell yeah.
In the Picks and Pans. You know what I mean?
Wow,
They
yeah.
reviewed the record.
Yeah.
It was like we won a Battle of the Bands, and that Battle of the Bands was a club in Santa Clara, and they were gonna give us like recording time if you won, but they couldn't give us recording time in the end after we had won. So they said, we're just gonna let you open up for every big band that comes through here, and they did, and it was a paid gig, and so we opened up for like Crowded House and the Mighty Lemon Drops. Opened up for the Ramones, scariest show.
Wow.
That was the scariest show ever. But
Why, how come?
because we were like a pop band.
How many?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Open up for the Ramones in like I think it was 1987. You know what I
Right.
mean?
In the
They were
prime.
in their prime, and like
Yeah.
that crowd did not want to hear
How
us.
big was the crowd?
Probably like 2,000 people.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
but
I've definitely had those scary shows where it's a crowd for somebody else who isn't me.
oh yeah,
And I'm different than that. And I
Yeah.
understand the feeling in your gut. Did they? I've almost always been wrong too. How did it go? It was scary starting that show, but how did the actual show go?
it was
Fine?
terrifying. No,
No, it was terrifying the whole time.
I mean, I knew what we were getting into
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I
It's
was
the
in New
Ramones.
York and back in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but the other guys didn't seem to really care. They thought it was great, but the crowd definitely didn't like us.
Okay.
There were, and there were boos and they were throwing things,
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but we made it through. It was like 30 minutes tops.
Yeah.
That's an eternity. 30 minutes in front of a crowd who doesn't want to
Yeah.
watch you is forever.
Yes.
That's 3 lifetimes you went through.
Yeah. I mean, after that, I just got in my car and split, But there was a lot of good shows. And we did, it ended up just, that band almost got signed. Because San Francisco back then, like grunge had like really exploded.
Oh wow. Okay.
And like all the record companies were signing bands. And that was like where Counting Crows and Third Eye Blind and a ton of other bands. Like
today, you'd probably be successful. You just produce just put your own stuff on YouTube and all.
Well,
I mean,
it's so much better now because
yeah.
it's like I record all my stuff at my house.
Right.
I mean, recording back then was
so much more expensive and difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to record at home, you had your Tascam 4-track. You couldn't really make anything that sounded great, but now it's like, I mean, you can get free
studio quality recording at your house.
Yeah. So, and it's so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much better than it was back then.
I mean, back then we couldn't have a studio like this.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it'd be impossible.
And back then the record companies, like I knew a bunch of bands around us that were getting signed, and they're getting these huge advances, and they were making a record, and it's kind of like with Jesse, what you were talking about with your movie. They'd make this record, and you'd get really excited about it, and they'd sit on it, and you couldn't put it out yourself. They owned it.
They own your name too.
They own your name, and they gave you $250,000. That's not free money. That was to make the record, and you have to pay it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just so.
Well, that's another one of the manipulations and predatory practices.
Yeah.
Those advances, putting you in a hole a little bit for when it comes out, and then leveraging that against you making a bad decision financially for yourself and giving up more than you should. It's a way they keep you in the hole and stay ahead on their own, right?
Yep.
Well, I had some friends in high school that had a really good metal band, and they were on a famous TV network. Starts with an M, ends with a V.
Yeah.
And and they were in this competition, this rock competition, and they placed second. They did really well.
Yeah.
And all these companies wanted to sign them, but the people who produced the competition wouldn't let them sign with anybody, and they also wouldn't let them have their name anymore, so they lost their name.
Oh my God!
They destroyed their band. Like they never went anywhere.
Most bands break up after they make their record. I mean, still to this day.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
but
like
at least they made a record. So these guys didn't even get to do that. I mean, they had they made like some CDs and stuff, but never got to really produce anything big.
Yeah. What is that splits the band up after the record? It's a bunch of artists having to be in an organized position with money.
It's always about money, and it's about songwriting rights and stuff like that.
It's silly stuff.
It's stupid stuff. I mean, I was always like, every band I've been in, no matter who's writing, my recommendation was always like, we should just split everything.
Yeah.
No matter who writes the songs, everyone has equal ownership.
If you guys started the band together, you should be all be split evenly. Now, if I understand if there's a writer or a vocalist that creates their own band, they bring in musicians to.
That's different.
That's different. But if you guys are all in it together, it should be all together.
I feel like
you're all equally.
At any point, why can't we just all be honest people who want everybody to be all right?
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's the bands that do stay together just end up poor together forever because they're the ones that don't care about the money, right?
And the ones that
or they become really successful.
And the ones that become really successful that share everything equally.
Right.
U2 does that. REM does that. It's like no one gets credit for one song. They all share it equally, no matter who did it. So
it always works out better that way.
Always works out better that way. And honestly, after being part of that frenzy in San Francisco at that time, so many musicians were just turned off and gave up playing forever.
Right.
And after the band I was in got close and it all fell apart, that's when I just realized that, I just do this. I mean, I still do it just because I like doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is why you should do it.
Sometimes I don't even like doing it, but it's like I've been doing it so long. It's like, what am I going to do?
Right. Yeah.
It's like a compulsion. And but at least it's better than drinking.
You know what I mean?
That's how I feel with comedy.
Yeah.
It's a compulsion. I can't not do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to find the ways that I enjoy doing it. I don't want to do it when I have to do it. I want to do it when I want to do it.
Yeah.
I think there's a thing about art, though, is if you're drawn to that, you have to do it, though.
Yeah.
Like, I know I have to. Like, I can't, I just can't not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be I
would be depressed.
I'd be very depressed if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know,
I get very depressed when I do it.
Sometimes I do too. I mean, I do too. I mean, like a lot of times playing music, especially playing live, it's like, I mean, most of the time.
Do you have anxiety when it comes to playing live?
I sometimes I do. It's weird because like I didn't used to. I was so used to. I was very relaxed, and I'm just at a point in my life now where sometimes I do have anxiety about it, but it doesn't stop me from doing it.
Sure.
But you know, I'm for me, like most gigs now suck. You know what I mean? It's like most of the time, sometimes you'll have a great gig. And I mean, suck is like people aren't listening
really
or
small
whatever.
venues or bars and stuff.
Yeah. But, you know, as long as you get
playing
paid,
into a void.
Playing into a void or just going out there and killing it and, you know, hearing like one person.
Nobody's appreciating it.
Nobody's like really listening.
Dude, I was touring. I had this 45 minutes that I was doing about some pretty heavy childhood stuff. I was doing a lot of it at children's mental health benefits. So we would raise money for children's mental health organizations and awareness and all that. And every fourth or fifth booking would be a regular comedy show at somebody's dumb bar. And I went into this one place. Anytime you have to perform any sort of art and there is a mechanical bull within 100 feet of you, you're fucked. And so,
unless you're a country singer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm on stage, and even then, I'm on stage, and I'm fucking like bearing my soul. And then this bridal party comes in, and they got dick hats and the glasses, and they got everything. And they're doing dildo races.
Oh, God.
And I'm talking about being molested as a kid. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm like, all right, well, I'm not the only one in here that's happened to. It turns into, you turn into a clown and not the fun sort of clown. You know what I mean? It's like, and then I had to wait 4 hours to collect my $75 check. It's, you know.
I mean, that's hard. And honestly, comedy, that's like the bravest of all. I mean, I can't even imagine getting up there by myself and doing what you do.
I couldn't do what you do.
Well, I mean, as a musician and even as a songwriter, like I'm a band guy.
Yeah.
Like I would never get up by myself with the guitar. You know what I mean? It's like I gotta have 3 or 4 people with me.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, because especially if you're bombing up there by yourself.
Yeah, it is an eternity. But also, bombing with your friends doesn't sound fun either. You know
Right, yeah.
You know, you got some camaraderie, but I mean, but especially as you get older and you've been doing it more, it's like, you know, I mean, it might have, you know, back in 1990, I might get depressed about it for like a week or something.
You're a little more callous about it now, right?
Yeah,
You've
now I'm
built
just like,
up the
whatever, you know. Try
the
it again
bombs
next
used
time.
to, the bombs, when you first start out, the bombs are it's like every other, every third. And then you get a little bit good, and then it's like every 10th one.
Yeah.
And they always hurt, but they hurt differently. And now, I'm not past the bomb. It happened last month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It happens once every 8 or 9 months. It hurts horrifically. It hurts way worse because I'm way more capable, and my expectations are higher.
Yeah.
But it goes away faster because I'm rational about it.
Same thing.
And I realize this dip isn't what I am. I am where I usually am is pretty good.
Right.
And the dip is...
You know what you're capable of.
What can I learn from this horrible, horrible experience I just had tonight?
Exactly.
You know, get some sleep and try to go at it again tomorrow. And, you know, it really is getting that mud off of you.
Yeah, you bounce back better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So, I mean,
and hopefully you can just stop having to bounce back eventually. You know what I mean?
I think with all these performance arts, it's probably similar. I started in acting, and so I think it's less in acting because acting is a little more laid back. Mm-hmm. Now, theater acting, I'm sure, is that way, but you know, film and TV is more. I feel like more laid back.
Yeah, more controlled too.
And you know, I studied at a school for several years, so when I did get on set, I felt pretty comfortable. It seemed it's a lot like being on set was a lot easier than the classes.
Right.
It was like football. You know, football really sucked during practice, but games were a breeze.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty new in stand up, a couple years in, and so the acting helped a lot with easing the nervousness. But I feel like nervous energy is a good thing for performance. It always kind of keeps you sharper.
Yeah.
But But the bombing, when I have a bad set, it does
the
really
bombs
hurt.
usually come when you're not nervous before.
Yeah.
So I played cards for a living for a while. I wrestled. I've done comedy. And anytime I've ever dry heaved before one of those things, I was going to do great that day.
Yeah.
But it was any day I was like, everything's cool. It's like, oh boy, that's
guard's
gonna be a bad
down.
one. Yeah. My body's not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't care enough.
You know what? It's funny because like the people I play with now, it's not like the bands I used to be in where you practice all the time, you rehearse, and you do your harmonies and work out the songs. I mean, it's a different kind of level of musicians. They don't practice.
Yeah.
They go, here's the songs we're playing, and it's
Yeah,
up to you to learn them on your own.
Yeah.
You might get an hour, at some point of practicing, but it's not like really digging deep.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and when I started doing that, I was like, okay, the day of the gig, 6 hours, I'm gonna run over everything. I'm gonna get all ready. I'm gonna just stay relaxed and focused. And like the more I prepare, sometimes the worse it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to trust yourself to
Yeah.
be able to do it. And I think that's that's that thing of, I don't think you could do it up front when you don't know what you're doing. But once you hone your craft in a little bit, you get those 10,000 hours or whatever it is.
You get the hang of it.
Yeah. So I don't do open mics and stuff like that very often. And people ask me how I work on material. It's like, well, if I'm doing a half hour, I'm doing an hour on stage. That means I have 4 to 8 minutes where I can just fuck around in the middle. So I'll figure my stuff out in the middle and just be able to riff. And
Right.
it's being able to trust that I have done this before. I have been at least this, this good on occasion. So
Yeah.
you have that.
That's trusting yourself is huge.
It's
everything. You gotta.
It is, and it feels impossible when you haven't done it yet, and then when you start doing it, it's like, holy shit, this is what I've been looking for the whole time.
Exactly, and a lot of times, with the trap I fell into is like comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That undermines your trust in yourself.
Yes. A comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, it really is, and you just gotta focus on your strong points. And honestly, no matter how prepared you are, there's so many other circumstances. I don't know if it's the same way with comedy, but with music, you are, you never know
Yeah.
what you're getting yourself into.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Like as far as like equipment wise, PA, you might not be able to hear yourself. Maybe you will. The venue might be,
a little easier with comedy because it's only really one.
Right. A
It's
microphone,
one thing,
yeah.
and hopefully some speakers. But I've shown up to places where they didn't have any of that stuff, and we you still go with it, so it's a little bit easier.
Or the audio is really weird. Like the speaker's right beside you.
Yeah.
It sounds really loud.
Yeah.
I'm sure it doesn't bother you, but for me, being newer, that sort of stuff throws me off.
Yeah, it used to throw me off. One of the things
Yeah.
you'll see, if you watch 100 people do comedy for the first time, you will see a lot of the same things over and over again. And one of them you'll see almost every time is they'll make a joke about the lights being too bright. They'll be like, holy shit, the light, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's every time because it throws you off. You're not used to it.
Oh, yeah.
For
And
me,
then-
that was coming from acting. That
Yeah,
didn't
it's a
bother
little
me.
easier, yeah.
Yeah.
If you've never been on stage and the first time you go on stage is in front of people,
Yeah.
everything's different.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not natural. You're the only one in the room facing one direction. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's a strange
I
thing.
still hate the lights.
Me
like
too.
glaring in my face. That's the worst.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And also working a microphone.
Yeah.
It's probably easier with what you're doing, but like when everything is really loud and you can't hear your voice in your head, you can only hear it coming from somewhere else. It can be really disorienting.
I'm sure. Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
With comedy, it's ideally, the only sound you're hearing is you and some laughs. And with music, you've got being able to make that those adjustments that can only come from experience, I'm guessing.
Although
and
it
then
is-
every situation has to be different because every room is different.
Exactly.
It is nice with stand-up if there's a monitor, though.
Yeah, it is.
It does help a lot.
It does, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Playing music without a monitor is worse, and that happens
sure.
too. You show up to a club and they have like 2 broken microphones and not enough cords and everything.
Yeah.
So that's
You're not making me miss the music life.
Yeah, no, man. I mean,
and I'm like, I don't miss that shit.
No, it's awful. But I mean, thankfully, I'm more aware of it now, and the people I play with are more aware of it now. So
how often do you?
We don't think twice about saying no to certain places.
Yeah, that's a really that's a point I'm coming to now that I'm actually really enjoying. I've been saying no for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
even when I shouldn't, but. I know I'm avoiding some difficult situations that I just don't want to deal with. It's not, the whole time for money thing, right? Like my energy for money. I get a lot of anxiety when I perform, and so if I book a show Tuesday the 30th, I'm in my head and freaking out about it the day I book it. Right. Every day is like, oh my God, is this show going to be good? Am I going to be good? Are they going to like me? Are they going to hate me? And it's like, why do I give a fuck about these people?
Right.
Like if they like me or not, you know what I mean? Like right. I should be able to just be myself and relax a little bit.
Yeah, same here. I mean, what I try to do if things start going a little bit awry on stage, you know what I mean? Like I don't want that to make me nervous.
Yeah.
And close down, so like, if the sound isn't good, and it's a place that we probably wouldn't come back to, I just try to focus on the other people I'm playing with. Just connect with them.
Yeah, that's it.
Just connect with them like you're practicing.
We comedians will typically find the one person who's not enjoying themselves and focus on that.
I've heard that
Why
before.
Is this guy, you know what I mean? And I've tried to get to the point of who is the one person that's really enjoying themselves, and let's kind of open the range a little bit and go towards them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We go towards negative. Are you? How often are you playing gigs? And do you do anything locally? Are you?
Yeah, it's all local. I mean, kind of local. Of course, there was during the whole past pandemic year. There was like one gig.
Right.
Now we're back to gigging again, but it's
weekly, monthly.
During the summer, when the weather's good,
yeah.
It's probably it could be 2 to 4 times a month.
Okay, cool.
In the wintertime, holidays, it goes down to about nothing.
Gotcha.
So and it just
it's a little bit opposite with comedy. That's funny. I guess because in the winter it picks up.
Does it?
It picks up locally,
mm-hmm.
And then when the weather's good, it picks up for travel. Which is really strange. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really want to travel. None of the people I play with they're all older.
Yeah.
And nobody really wants to travel. But I mean, we were doing gigs far, like 2 hours away,
sure.
3-4 hours away at the down at the beach,
mm-hmm.
and 1 year before everything closed down, we had a gig in Morganton, which is a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
That's a commitment, but it was at a bar, and
it's a day.
Yeah, it's a day,
because honestly, that's a 6-hour drive. It's a 2-hour drive there. It's an hour load and unload, and it's a 2-hour drive back. It's an hour unload and unload.
It's a lot of work. It's a long day, and the money was okay if it was closer. You know what I mean? But it was one of those things where you'd go and you'd play, and like no one was listening.
It's funny when people talk about money with gig work, and they're like, "Well, how much did you make to play your half-hour show?" I'm like, "Oh, I made $200." Oh, that's amazing. No, it's not. It's pennies.
It took the whole day.
It took the whole day. Not only did it take the whole day, it took my whole fucking life. Because it took me so much time to
prepare for it.
And write and all this material. I'm not making it up on the spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. So, you could look at it as, that's $50 an hour or whatever. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
I had to get out of bed this morning. You know what I mean? I had to get out of bed and get ready and drive and be in the cold, and there's a lot that goes into it. And that's why I'm like super into trying to let people know how to support artists and come out to the gigs when you're playing and stuff like that. Where are you guys online? Is there like if people wanted to go watch you somewhere, how do people find you now?
Well, it's I'm playing with the band. The group of musicians is like morphed into all these different bands. Like I play with this guy, Sam Frazier, who's a local singer, songwriter, guitar player. He's like total badass musician, and I play bass for him. And we have our drummer Cliff, who's they've been playing together for forever. So, but we have been a unit as a band, including me, for about 5 years, and then we'll play with other, we'll back up other songwriters.
Oh, hell yeah.
Jeffrey Dean Foster in Winston-Salem. I mean, he's got a pretty big following, wouldn't you say, Jesse?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's got a bunch of albums out on Spotify. Sam has an album out. And then we'll play locally with, there's a great singer-songwriter here named Molly McGinn. She used to be in Amelia's Mechanics. So the three of us have another band with her called the Joy Band. So it's like...
Oh, it's fantastic.
But it's great because it's not like... None of these people really want to be in a band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They just want to play music with cool people.
It's just musicians supporting each other.
It feels good.
It feels good. It's like we're not getting together and arguing and playing for 4 hours every week. You know what I mean? We're just
Who
like,
gets
hey,
credit? And it's just like,
can you play this gig? All right, this gig, it's whatever. So
a lot more loose structure. Which is how artists should be structured. Too much structure is not good for a creative person.
I agree. And I mean, I guess it's good. It's good. I'm lucky I fell in with these people because they all have a fan base.
Right.
Every one of them. And it's been great for me.
Takes the onus off of you because
but
self-promotion is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and exactly. And before I played with Sam, I was in some good bands here, but when I got hooked up with him, it's like all the people that follow him, all of a sudden I was on their radar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As, his bass player.
Yeah.
But when I put out my music recently, you know what I mean? Like Sam's in my band.
Yeah.
He was in the video that Jesse made. So, I put it out and it got like 100 shares.
Yeah.
And
just community.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. There's a little bit of the same with comedy as when new comics always ask, how do you get work? I'm like, well, be cool. Be a good person to be around, be fun to hang out with, have some value. And so how I got most of my travel work was, I'd get called from a club to go and host or feature, just open for a name. And then we'd have a great weekend, and they'd be like, what are you doing next weekend?
Right.
And then eventually I'm on the road for 6 months. I'm going to all these places, meeting all these people, and getting credit for my relationship with the person that I'm with. If this person likes you, then we like you. Type of thing.
That's it. Yeah, that's totally it. I mean,
I always had my favorite comedians to travel with were the ones who always told me, steal some of my audience tonight. Like, go out there and make some of these people your fans because they will support you now too. And it's like that support from artist to artist
that's everything.
It's everything.
Because when people are cutthroat with each other or feel super competitive, I mean that.
How many great musicians or artists have we pushed out of anything with that type of thing? I mean, a lot of I don't want to argue about money. I just never.
Yeah.
I'll walk away from the conversation. I don't want to argue about it. I'd rather have a friend than the money. And
totally.
The amount of times that business has split people up and cost friendships, but also taken someone creative out of something that they should have been doing because they didn't want to handle it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the video you guys shot. Jesse, you said Jesse shot your video for one of your songs. It's on YouTube, yeah?
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube.
We'll throw a link in the description.
Yeah, it was great. I mean,
it was fun.
It was
easy, it was a very it was just me and my camera and a few lights.
We did it at my house.
They're hanging out.
It looks great.
And that's where you record your music, at your house?
Yeah, and actually in the room I record my music is where we did it. And I mean the band practices.
Yeah, I watched this. Great.
The band practices at my house.
Yeah, it's great.
So, but people really, I mean, it got a great response. So many people loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that was really nice. We're probably going to do another one. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I mean, the release I just put out, it's only 4 songs. I mean, I wanted it. It's funny because I originally wanted it to be like a full album.
Sure.
8 or 10 songs. And now I'm glad it's only 4 songs because really, you really should only put out one because there's no, I mean, why do people put out albums anymore? Because people just they buy a song they like.
Right.
They're not interested in sifting through your whole
Right.
12-song album to find one song they like.
I have to say, us old geezers are liking some records these days.
That's true.
Which is kinda
What's
cool.
that?
I've been buying vinyl lately.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's Well, that's.
But
that's
old school.
Yeah, I mean, I love my albums still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will.
But I agree with you on the.
But like new music.
It's one of the things I'm actually, the more I get out of performing and doing comedy, I am very much into the art of it, and I still want to do it. I just want to do it how I want to do it. But one of the things I've always wanted to do is press an album.
Yeah.
Because it's how I grew up. I grew up listening to comedy on 8 tracks and albums.
Yeah.
And I just want to fucking see it. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
I want to hold that thing. So the fact that you have some is pretty cool, man.
Well, I didn't even get a CD made.
Really?
No, and I
But
might.
I mean, you had an album with the band in San Francisco, yeah?
Yeah. I've got that vinyl. I've got vinyl from a band I was in 1982 in New York.
That's awesome, man.
It's
yeah.
so
with the new project with the 4 songs, you put them out online.
Yeah.
And so what's the hope with it? It's just that they're made and now it's cool.
Yeah. No, I was just like, I mean, I'm glad I did only 4 songs. To me, it's 4 strong songs. Like it's super catchy. Like I'm sort of very melodic pop person, but. I didn't even think about selling it. People were like, where can I buy it? I was like, you can just listen to it on Spotify or you can go to YouTube. You can hear everything on YouTube. You don't have to buy it. I don't have anything to sell you.
Right.
I mean, you can buy it on Apple Music if you want to buy a song, but I'm not going to see any money.
Yeah.
So,
so when it comes to things like that, and, obviously, I feel like most artists are not self-promotion machines. There are some who are, and God bless them. But I am not. It sounds like you are not. What's a way that when people do listen to your music, that if they wanted to buy it or support you financially, is there a way that they could do it, or is it just to have dogs and invite you over to watch the dogs?
Well, I mean, at some point I might get like a disc press, just in a little cardboard sleeve, so at gigs if somebody wants to buy something, I can sell to them for $5 or whatever. But for me, and the only way, like the only aspiration I have as a songwriter is to I love that I can record and arrange my own music now without any pressure and without spending a whole shit ton of money. You know what I mean? The highest aspiration would be to get a song licensed. On a TV show, in a commercial, in a movie. That's really the only way to make money in music now.
Significant money.
A chunk of money.
Have you made any money on YouTube or anything, or Spotify, or
no?
Okay.
Literally, you get. I can't remember the percentage, but it's
hundreds of thousands of views to really make money.
To make a buck.
Yeah.
And everything we do on this channel is going to be out for free. We just shot a comedy special for a friend of mine. We got the podcast and all that, and our intent is pretty similar to yours. It's put it out.
Yeah, get it out there.
And we just I want to figure out ways where. You're not going to ask anybody to pay for your stuff, and there are people who are going to want to buy your stuff.
Yeah.
There has to be a way where, they can support you whether you want it or not.
Yeah. Well, I've had some people, when I put it out, they ask me, how can I buy it? Well, you can buy it on, Apple or whatever, or you can buy it on, I don't know if you can buy stuff on Spotify, or you can download it, but, I've had people, Venmo me $20. Several people, and it's nice. I appreciate.
I think that's those people are doing it correctly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think give it to them to consume, and if you enjoy it,
pay me what you want.
Yeah,
or just come see me when I play live or whatever, But yeah, it's just the whole money thing is.
It's cumbersome, and it's a hindrance for people who don't want to deal with it, and that's what I'm getting. Hanging around with these guys, the business boys. I'm starting to realize that, as an artist, the fact that I hate money, is it is how I feel, but it's also wrong. I got to be able to eat, and I should be able to be supported for the stuff I create. And
right.
asking for it is a difficult.
It's
just a difficult thing.
I mean, I know a lot of people that it's not difficult.
Exactly. Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I mean, during the pandemic, I mean, so many people I knew were just like playing live on Facebook and asking.
Yeah.
And they were getting it. You know what I mean? Like, I never did that. But, you know.
Well, comedians started doing Zoom shows, and it was, it got very wild, wild west, because when you are a gig worker and that economy is taken away from you, it was beautiful how often I did see people supporting. And, there were the people who very blatantly asked for it, but then there were the people who just creatively created, and people flocked to them. And there's some comedians who during the quarantine blew their career up with just, they were home, they decided to make stuff, they got some friends together, and people really supported, and it was super cool to see.
And that's a lot of, like podcasts came up that way. Like, I think when Rogan and Mark Maron got into it, like they weren't expecting for it to be what it became. You know what I mean? Especially Maron, because he never was really super successful.
No, he was
his
not
podcast.
Until the podcast. Yeah, and he has a great story about wanting to kill himself in his garage and turning the microphone.
It was 9 or 10 years of that podcast going out there before anybody even knew.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know what? I actually started listening to him from the beginning, because I just listened to podcasts all day in my bus. I work in a bus.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And I turned so many people onto him. I mean, it's weird, because he was coming up. He was a part of a very successful group of comedians.
Sure,
He didn't get that success.
He didn't, yeah.
And he's fantastic.
I
love the way he
anytime anybody talks to creative people, I'm super into it, and he's very specifically good at it.
Yeah, he really is.
I was listening to a lot of comedy albums and XM radio when I was in my truck all the time, and I started listening when podcasts came out, when the Mark Maron and the Rogan and stuff like that came out. That was when I realized I could do comedy. I started listening to comedy in the late 70s, early 80s on 8-tracks. And I always thought it was just for geniuses or special people who grew up in special families.
Right.
They'll come find you when it's time. I had no idea. And then listening to those podcasts where he's talking to comedians and, how did you get started? Well, I went to an open mic. I'm like, where the fuck is these? You know what I mean? How did and that was, it propelled me into actually doing it myself. So
it's eye-opening, right?
Yeah, just listening to people talk about the things that they love doing. If you're a person who also loves those things, it's informative. I mean? It's life changing. So, but that's technology, right? Being able to communicate. And
that's true. Yeah, it's so much. It's easier now for sure. Yeah. But it's funny because it goes back to doing it because you love to do it.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody's doing music or comedy and they're just so eager. You know what I mean? To make money and be successful. It just, not saying it can't happen for those people, but most people who are super successful, they do it because they want to do it.
It's passion.
It's not about making the money. So
well, that's what I was telling Eric recently. I'm actually losing money by doing comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's costing me money.
I mean, this is the reason I'm self-employed.
Me too,
Yeah. I mean, I have music too.
Yeah.
I mean, I can make money playing music, but I sure spend a lot of money on gear and stuff.
Well, that goes back into what we were saying, right? If how much did you make for your gig, right? Well, nothing. I lost money because I had to buy the gear and I had to get gas and take my time. And you're a business guy who makes more money being other places doing business stuff. And, when you come hang out with us savages and tell dick jokes, you know what I mean?
It costs me money.
It costs you money. Yeah.
I mean, a guy when I lived in San Francisco, I was a building manager.
Okay.
And the guy I worked for, he owned 3 buildings. I managed them, and he turned it into he would buy these buildings that, he was like a retired doctor, and and San Francisco was kind of rent control back then. So, people were living in apartments since 1967 and they were paying $200 a month for it.
Wow.
They had rent control, but he bought these buildings, and as people moved out, he furnished them. He taught me that whole,
right.
what's your time worth thing.
Right.
But I guess it didn't stick because the thing.
Well, we're all different. We're all predisposed to like different things.
Yeah. Well, the grooming business thing, I do it to give me the freedom to just make my own schedule and be a creative person.
Yeah.
However, it's not passive income. So
Right.
when you're doing it, it's like
It's your time.
It takes a lot of
It's
time.
yeah.
It's even when you're not working, you got to put a lot of time into it.
It's one of the better things you could be doing with your time, though.
But I mean,
It's enjoyable for me
Yeah.
most of the time. As long as my main thing is to not overwhelm myself because
Right.
I don't like feeling rushed and pressured. But the actual connecting with the dogs and doing the grooming and everything and training them to be groomed, like it feels really good.
That's cool.
And the people they're like, they treat me like I'm a member of their family because a lot of these people, I've groomed their dog from birth to death and now they're on another dog,
Yeah.
But as far as like the money, like I told you, like I tried to expand the business once, but it's just so much work. I mean, I'm already way overextended, and not caring about money. It's like I never raise my prices.
Yeah.
I'm trying to raise them now after 15 years. I'm making less money now than I was making 10 years ago because everything's so much more expensive.
Yes.
And
then you get into the point of, you are a member of these people's family, and to ask them to give you more is difficult. It's just
you find your good customers that way.
My good customers are like, they'll always pay me more.
Yeah.
And they'll give me a raise every year whether I ask for it or not, which is really good, It's
just how you should treat people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just all about, and I don't want to work for somebody I don't like. I don't want to work for somebody who treats me like I'm.
Not only do I not want to work with those people, I don't want to be around them. I don't want to know they exist.
I don't take them on as customers.
Yeah.
But
so that's, for people who don't care about money, whatever it is, right? But Neil said this thing to me a few months ago, and I was like, hey, man, I got to start doing stuff. I got to fix my situation. He's like, it's Wednesday at 2:00 right now. You're not working, and you're here meeting with me. And right now, it's a Thursday at 1:30, and you made your own time to come here and do this.
Yeah.
You have the freedom to do that, whereas if you were doing something you didn't love,
exactly,
you wouldn't have that freedom. You'd be a little bit more constrained.
So you're winning.
I've always hated working the regular jobs, because before I moved here, when I was younger, I had jobs. I was so unhappy, working in factories and parts departments and all that.
Plus mindless work. Yeah,
it's terrible, And when I first got into the apartment managed thing, now that was all time consuming. That was 24/7, even more. But because you have to be available all the time.
It's more interesting though. Yeah,
it's way more interesting, and I had a lot of freedom. You know what I mean?
I used to do property management too. So
I was all over the place. I was just doing and I was paid as a subcontractor.
Yeah.
And ever since then, everything I've done, I became an electrician after I moved out of San Francisco, moved to Sonoma, and that was a subcontractor, and I had a little courier service,
Yeah.
And when I moved here, I think I worked in Starbucks for a year. That's
another horrible job.
Fucking awful.
Yeah.
All jobs are good jobs for somebody, but some jobs aren't good for all of us.
It goes back to the thing what I was saying, though, is we could create a society that's designed to encourage people to and incentivize people to find what they're good at.
Yeah. Well, I talk to so many people. So many groomers have been like, I've gotten a couple of people started, you know, and like I told them, like I built my own van. Like if for the average person who doesn't know about starting a business and like they want to be a mobile groomer, like if you can buy a mobile grooming fan that's factory made, you know, but they're like $100,000, you know, in your dog groomer.
And you have to make that back.
You're going to have to make like a second mortgage, you know what I mean? To pay for your thing, you know? So, I mean, because I had experience in construction, electrician, I would buy like, you know, my buses that I'm working with now, it's like a 1992 bus. I gutted it and I just installed everything myself.
Yeah.
And I've taught other people how to do it, but
and it shouldn't be that expensive.
No, I mean I did it for really cheap.
I mean, I'm thinking now if I can sell a grooming van for $100,000, I need to start selling grooming vans.
Well, you know what? Actually, that was another thing. Like I had a friend who was like, "You've built these grooming vans. You can just can convert them. I'll help you. You convert them. You know, we'll buy a $2,000 van. We'll convert it for $4,000, and you sell it for $20,000. You know?
Heck yeah, man.
And I could do
Are they
that.
like Sprinter vans or?
No, man, because those, you know,
It could be anything, really.
It could be anything. The first one I bought was an RV.
Okay.
It was an old Chevy van with an RV on the back, you know, and I did it with that. And then the second one, you know, I did the same design, but after running that first van for however many years, and you know, I found out all the design flaws.
Right. Yeah.
And now I do it in a bus, because a bus is
A lot
taller,
more
it's
space.
wider, it's already got inside walls,
yeah.
it's insulated. I can run all the electrical outside, I can run all the plumbing outside, and so if something goes wrong, it's right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can.
Nice.
It's easy to fix. You don't have to tear anything out or get into uncomfortable positions. All very accessible.
Nice.
But then again, it's like, where am I going to find time to do that?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the bus I have now, I felt my old RV, you know, I could tell it was going to take a shit within a year. So I bought this bus from a church. You know what I mean? It was like a youth van.
Yeah, yeah.
I parked it in my driveway. I don't have a garage. I don't have a place to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was out there every weekend working in my driveway, which is a hill, slowly converting this thing and figuring it all out. And it's a lot. So I mean, when this thing goes, I don't know what I'm going to do next. At this point, I go, maybe I'll just go work at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is, like, when these other people ask me about it, they're like, well, what am I going to do? I have to have insurance. You know what I mean? I have to have health insurance. And like the thing you're talking about, everyone would have that
Yeah.
safety
It wouldn't
net.
be an issue.
So you could do your thing.
Yep.
You
You
know
could
what I
take
mean?
some risks.
You could
Yeah.
take some risks. You don't have to
And we
worry
would
about
all
it.
do better.
You could take some risks with a net under you, whereas what you're doing now is just taking the risk, right?
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
fall at
Yeah.
the floor, it's a long ways down.
Yeah.
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 There's no food there.
Yeah, well, that's,
Yeah.
you know, when you work for yourself, it's like people are like, oh, it's so great. I want to, you know, you must be doing really good. Well, it's great because you have the freedom and you're your own boss. And yeah, I make more money than I made when I worked at Starbucks.
Sure. But I haven't been to a doctor in 4 years.
Yeah, and it's like, it costs money to run this van. You got to buy supplies, you got to maintain it, you have to have, you know, liability insurance and
A lot of responsibility.
and then you don't have any days off, you don't have any pay days off, you don't have any sick days, you don't
Yeah.
have any benefits, you don't have any 401k, none of that. It's
all
all
you.
on you.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's
So,
what you and Daniel say all the time, right? It's like no days off. There's,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no days off when you're an entrepreneur.
Because I can't
No work,
ask
no money.
someone to do my stuff for me.
Right.
It's all on me.
Yeah.
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 And I have friends who
Now
are,
you can structure your business where you have some flexibility, and that's what I do.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
I still have all the responsibilities, but I can do them when I want to do them on my time.
That's the thing.
Usually,
that's
there are exceptions.
and you can get burned out still. I mean,
Oh, for
you know,
sure, yeah.
you know, I mean, there's times where I'm going, oh my God, I'm just like,
But at the same time, I don't think, you know, you shouldn't. That's why we value people in society based on what they do, and that's wrong. That's wrong thinking. Sure, you should be able to be as successful as you want to be, and if we restructured our construct the way I'm talking about,
yeah.
you could be unbelievably successful. The people that
Yes.
are really successful today would be even more successful.
Yeah.
But then you wouldn't have poverty either. So
Right.
you would have a good floor. Because some people don't want a lot of success. They don't want a lot of responsibility. Some people may want to work 20 hours a week at Starbucks.
Yeah.
They're making $2,000 a week. They've got a good life, and they can play video games 80 hours a week.
know,
and that's fine. That
that's-
should be fine.
That's my brother.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it's kind of me too. I mean, I really want no pressure. Is more, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't mind being busy all the time because I've been doing it so long that it's just become kind of a flow for me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to stress out about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when
Right.
I get home, I've got another 2 hours of work. I got to wash some towels and I've got to bleach
That's the victory,
tub.
right? Is managing the expectations and managing
Yeah.
your stress levels, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Trying to be a human as often as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now my brother works at Whole Foods. He's let's see, he's 48 now, and he doesn't have a car. He's an artist. He's he's devoted to his art.
Oh, there you go.
He's a visual artist.
Oh, okay.
I
yeah.
mean, he's got, he works in his studio, which is his bedroom, every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least there have been times in the past like 6 hours a day, but you know,
What is
work-
he? What kind of art?
He's paint. He's a painter. You know,
paint.
abstract
Okay.
painter.
Oh, nice.
Really, really great, and he just wants a simple life.
Yeah.
That's,
you know,
that's one of the
he write-
examples I use, right?
Yeah.
You have a guy that's a janitor, and
Yeah.
you know they can work 20 hours a week,
Yeah.
make a really good living,
Yeah.
and spend 80 hours a week painting.
Yeah.
creating.
And I mean,
and think about how good they could get.
It would be perfect for him. I mean, he loves his job. He works at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, he makes $20 an hour. He never takes a day off. He's got some crazy like 400 hours of sick time coming to him.
He enjoys it.
You know, he can ride his bike to work or walk to work.
But when I see that though, so he works 40 hours a week probably.
I think 38. Yeah, around
so
40
hours a week.
Yeah.
So he's wasting at least 20 hours a week.
He would love 20 more hours. He would love 20 more hours.
And we would, as a society, we would benefit from his extra 20 hours a week probably.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, do you think we can get there? I mean, how far away?
we could get there today. It's just breaking down power structures.
You know.
But
we all have to. Well,
we say just breaking
though.
down power structures. That's one of the most difficult things to do in the entire world. Yeah. So it's you know what I mean?
And I mean that, and it's like.
But it's happening though. That's why we're feeling these pushbacks so hard right now.
Like the people, like that's why like nobody's going back to work, right?
Right.
Like they can't fill a lot of jobs because people are like, screw this, man.
Well, I mean, it's honestly with the pandemic and all of that happened, and people not going back to work. I am one of those people. You know, I am taking 90% less comedy gigs than I was. I started to figure out that I can survive in other ways, and that I didn't have to be around the gatekeepers and the people. You know, it's
you're finding different ways to create.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that happened with comedy and maybe in some other fields, but New York and LA were always you had to be there. You had to be there. If you ever wanted anything, you had to be there.
Right.
And then the internet showed us during the quarantine that you could be anywhere and people could see you from anywhere. And you know that was true beforehand, but now we know it's. You know, you can survive on that. You know.
The world is very small now.
Yeah. We got to wrap up. Is there anything we missed?
Do you have any advice for people wanting to pursue their passions or start a business or anything that helped you?
Well, just like what we said, I mean, it's just do it for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say keep your expectations modest.
Yeah, right.
You know, and find out what it really is that's important to you.
Right.
You know, I mean, if money is what's important to you, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. Yeah. And people who really want to make money usually find a way to do it.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, but
that's true.
It's really just about freedom. I mean, like you, I mean, I kind of consider myself a rebel just because I'm existing outside of the system.
Yeah.
You know, but I'd love it if everybody could do that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. But you've got to learn how to live conservatively with your money, keep your cost of living down so you can pursue your art.
That's the thing about being self-employed that you know, I'm lucky. I got a house when I moved here. I could have never bought a house in California. I got I moved here in 2004. I got a house. I got into a house for like $4,000.
Wow.
You know, and my mortgage is like $500. The key is like keep your cost of living low. Don't go into debt. I don't have any debt. You know, and I have money saved for when the van breaks down or if there's no work for a long time, you know.
That's good.
So that's, you know, it's just like I try to keep my life frugal.
Right.
So I can live it the way I want to live it.
And what's the name of your band right now?
Sam Frazier and the Side Effects. Also Jeffrey Dean Foster, which is Jeffrey Dean Foster, the songwriter, backed up by Sam Frazier and Side Effects. And then we have another one called the Joy Band, which is Molly McGinn, Sam Frazier, and the Side Effects, and this a guy named Deshaun Hickman, who is a pedal steel player. So
okay, cool.
3 bands. It's all the same people in different configurations.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
so
different styles of music.
Yeah, being able to create with whoever's in the room is
so awesome,
pretty important.
Yeah, that's great.
How can people follow you on social media?
Well, you know, I have my Instagram page, which is mostly dog grooming stuff. Yeah, okay. It's all pictures of dogs.
I looked and I was like, oh, there's a lot of dogs.
It's all dogs, you know what I mean? Because like I did post some music stuff on there, but people they want to see the dogs.
What's your Instagram handle?
It's Micca-Chris.
Okay.
So. And I have a Facebook page and the Sam Frazier and Side Effects Facebook page, and my Facebook page is just under my name, Chris Micca. So
nice, awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed the episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week, I guess.
See you.
Maybe.
Yeah, and no sweat. We got lots of SD cards. We are rolling.